Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to Seoul Searching My Epic Video Diary. I'm here in South Korea, and this week I'll be talking about my journey to South Korea and EPIK Orientation and what I've been up to for the past 2 weeks. My journey to South Korea started way back in September when I initially applied to EPIK, which stands for English Program in Korea, for those of you who don't know. But the physical journey started on February 17th from San Francisco International Airport. My mom dropped me off a little tearily, which I totally understand, and I went through the gate and I hopped on the flight and forced myself to stay awake and fall asleep later because of the time difference nonsense. But I did sleep, so that's good, and I took some videos and took some pictures of my food, which I will try to share with you. And I arrived at Incheon International Airport in South Korea at 4:30 in the morning. So my day started pretty early that day. Went through immigration. Let's try that again. Immigration. I promise I can speak English. I'm about to be an English teacher after all. So I arrived at the airport, went through immigration and customs, and after all that was finished, it was about 5:30 in the morning, still with 2 hours to go until EPIK was going to come pick us up at 7:30. So just hung around the airport, met some new people, and when EPIK arrived, they grabbed our stuff. We headed on a bus to the premier hotel where we would be staying for all of orientation. So after we arrived at the hotel, we did a facilities tour. We were supposed to be staying on a college campus, and they were going to show us all of the ins and outs of the college. But because of COVID-19, they stuck us in a hotel. I say stuck us in a hotel like it's a bad thing. Instead, which ended up being way nicer than a dorm would have been. But they took us on a little tour of the hotel, showed us where all the important rooms were, and then I just really hung out for the day. I met some more new people, hung out with someone that I had met at the airport, Emmy, and my roommate Anna in the afternoon before heading to my 5B class meeting. The whole team, was divided up into different classes because there were so many of us. So I was lucky enough to be in 5B, where I met some really, really awesome people. At this team 5B class meeting, well, actually it was 5A and 5B all together, we were assigned our demo co-teachers. So as a part of orientation, we were to write a full lesson plan and then do a 15-minute demonstration of the lesson for critique and for feedback in front of our peers and in front of some people who have been teaching in Korea for a little bit longer than the rest of us. After this meeting, we headed off to dinner, and that was the end of the first day already. I fell asleep at 9:30 that night. I tried to stay up to watch a movie with my roommate, and it just didn't work. I was too tired. But I woke up the next morning at 7:30 in the morning, bright and early, despite the fact that I didn't have to be anywhere until 10:10 for my medical exam. We all had to go through a medical exam. We had to do a blood test and a urine test and eyesight and weight, height, all of that good stuff before we were allowed to continue on. They had to make sure that none of us was doing anything illegal. In the afternoon, after everyone had been checked, and we'd eaten lunch already and all that good stuff, they did an opening ceremony to welcome all of the EPIK teachers. Someone from high up in the EPIK world actually came and did a little speech for us to welcome us. And there was someone spoke on Korean life and culture and the roles and responsibilities of EPIK teachers that afternoon before they again let us go to dinner and had the night free. I was lucky enough to, within the first 2 days of orientation, to start building some really good bonds with people. So 2 of the people that I had become friends with, Matthew and Mo, and I all went out for some coffee that night because why not? We didn't really want to stay in the hotel, and they also had some ridiculous rules about men not being allowed in women's rooms and women not being allowed in men's rooms, and then we had an 11 p.m. curfew, which was really kind of stupid. But that's besides the point. So we went out, we hung out, and then I came back and then went to bed as one does. The next few days, I must sadly admit, kind of blend together. There was a lot of lectures, mostly really good lectures. There was an amazing storytelling one that really sticks out in my head. But it was a lot of information about lesson planning, co-teaching, some activities, games that you can do with your class as you're starting to get into things. That first Saturday, we were supposed to do a team-wide cultural trip, but they ended up canceling that because of COVID-19, which is understandable. So we stayed in the hotel. I worked with my co-teacher on our lesson demo and just kind of hung around for the day. Monday was lesson demo day, and it was by far the longest day that we had at orientation. We started at 9:30 in the morning and went through until 5:30 in the afternoon with a short break for lunch. My lesson was the second to last of the day to be taught, which was really rough, but we made it through. I worked with a really great person named Thandi, and ours was a high school lesson plan, which I was definitely nervous about going into it because I really like working with elementary school students, but we pulled it off, and the students did a mock interview for their dream job as a part of our lesson, and everyone seemed to really enjoy themselves. We got a lot of positive feedback and some constructive feedback, but everyone was absolutely relieved when the day was over. Tuesday was kind of a mixed bag of things. The morning was kind of boring. We sat through some more lectures. And in the afternoon, that was when we finally had our POE and MOE meetings, so our Provincial Office of Education or Municipality Office of Education meetings, where we were going to find out where we were going to go. I'd been really nervous. All I had known going into this was that I was going to be in the Jeonbuk province. They told me that back in January. But that's all I knew. I didn't know what city I was going to be living in. So it wasn't until this meeting that I found out, and they told us in kind of a scary way. They just put up PowerPoint slides of where you were going. They did a little intro of the city or the town, and then your name popped up, and mine was one of the last to pop up for Imshilgun, which is a county, not a city. So I'm in a pretty rural area versus some people who are in C's. So Jeonju C means city, or I don't know if it means city, but that's what it represents, is that it's a city. It's a much larger area. But we signed contracts during this meeting, and we handed them in, and then we were just free to go. And I went back, and I think I packed for a little bit before the closing ceremony for the night. They showed a really nice video, which if I can, I will put a link in here for you to be able to see that. And they thanked us for being there, and then they gave us some really good food that night. And then it was our last night to really hang out with our friends. I gotta say that the best part of orientation by far was the people. I got to hang out with some really, really awesome people. By the end of orientation, I was spending a lot of time with a pretty solid group of people. It was Mo and Lindsay and Matthew and Maddie, Emmy, and Mary. And we found this lounge on the third floor that was really comfy, had some great chairs, and we would just hang out and we would play cards, and it was a lot of fun. And those are memories that I'm definitely going to remember past orientation. On Wednesday, we all had to say goodbye to each other, which was kind of surprisingly hard, even though I'd only known these people for a week, but I developed some really strong relationships in there, so it was hard to say goodbye. Most people were heading off to their provinces to be picked up by their co-teachers and taken to their apartments. But Jeonbuk, they decided to do a secondary orientation for us in order to lessen our quarantine time in our apartments by ourselves. So they picked us up super early on Wednesday, and then we drove down to Jeonju, which is the capital of Jeonbuk, to start our little orientation, just our group. of the little group that had formed at orientation, Maddie, Mary, Matthew, and I were all placed in Jeonbuk. Maddie was at a national school, though, in Jeonju, and so she was not a part of our little Jeonbuk orientation, but I was roommates with Mary for this part of the orientation. And then Matthew was right around the hall, and I started making some better friends with other people who were in Jeonbuk during this orientation. In some ways, the Jeonbuk orientation was very similar to the EPIK orientation that we did, and in some ways it was very different. We had a lot of the same lectures, lecture styles, introducing us to different activities and games and expectations for teaching with EPIK, but it was a little bit more specific to Jeonbuk. There are some pretty rural areas of Jeonbuk, so they were just helping us out, giving us ideas for teaching classes of, for example, 3 or 4 students, which is what I may end up having because I'm in such a small area. They took us out for all of our meals, which were all delicious. I don't think there was one that I didn't like. Korean food is so good. If you haven't tried it, you absolutely must. And then they did all of these little cultural experiences with us. So one of the first things we did was we made a keychain, which now houses my apartment keys, because I'm one of the few in all of Korea who does not have a keypad to get into her apartment, but that's besides the point. So this has my name written on it in Hangul, which is pretty cool. And then we got to decorate them. And then we also made our own seals. So they're really big on having a seal, which is basically a stamp, and it has your name written in. So this says Lela because Gabriella was far too long to write on that tiny little stone, but it's fine because most people know me as Lela anyways. And then one of the best parts was the tour of the Hanok village. So right in Jeonju, there is an area that has more of the traditional style of buildings, and most of them are houses or hotels or spas, but they are housed within the traditional looking buildings, and it was really cool. We got a guided tour, so we saw where basically the temple was, and where the shrine is, and hold on, I'm going to try to read this, the portrait of King Taejo of Joseon. I definitely butchered that. It's a national treasure, and it was really cool to see that. And we saw the rest of the village, and then we got to go and we saw the whole thing from a much higher up view, almost an aerial view, which was really cool. There are over 700 buildings in Jeonju that are in the traditional style. So that was a really awesome thing. And then we were also given free time to just hang out and walk around, and we didn't have any of the ridiculous curfew rules or anything like that, though most of the time we were all pretty tired, so we weren't up too much past curfew. Some of the people that I was with, we did some adventuring into Jeonju. We went out for drinks and saw a little bit of the town, saw the river. So I definitely want to make it back up there while I am here. On Friday, that's when we really had to say goodbye to each other because everyone was being picked up by their co-teachers, except for me. Most people got picked up by their co-teachers and taken to the Office of Immigration to fill out their alien registration card paperwork, and then taken to their apartments and taken out to go to Home Plus or Daiso to go pick up things for the apartment if the apartment was missing them. And some people got taken out for dinner with their co-teachers, and some other co-teachers hung around to help you move in and get your appliances all settled and everything ready. I was not as fortunate. I got picked up by 2 people from the Imshil Office of Education. They took me to fill out my paperwork for the ARC, and then they dropped all my stuff off at my apartment building, threw my stuff in, kind of pointed towards the direction of the bus terminal and said, "All right, there's the bus terminal. Show up next Friday at 8 a.m. Bye." Which was really overwhelming. I knew no information. I had no idea how many schools that I was going to be teaching at. Luckily, one of the few things that the person who was living in the apartment, the teacher before me, left behind was a list of all of the apartment numbers of the rest of the English teachers who are in Imshil. We all live in one apartment building. So after I finally decided to buck up and get out of the apartment for a little bit to find some things, I knocked on the apartment downstairs, who belonged to a girl named Crystal, who has already become my go-to person. She's been really helpful in making me feel like this is all going to be okay, because the first few days were kind of stressful. She took me out to dinner on Friday, and she has given me advice and all that good stuff. Cleaning my apartment was kind of disgusting. I'll be honest, it was not left in great shape for me. I took out ready for this, folks, a literal jar of mold. Yes, you heard me right. The person before me left lots of half-eaten food, so a jar of mold was one of the things that was gifted to me. I spent my first 2 days in Imshil just cleaning the apartment to get rid of all of the gross stuff. There was some other drama with the furniture too. I have 2 chairs. My kitchen chairs are duct taped together. That's how they're standing. But I've already contacted people at the Office of Education to try to get that fixed, and they seem to want to help, which is a good sign. As for what I've been doing for the most of the rest of the time, it's been just getting used to being here. I've taken some walking tours of Imshil. I have now met all of the other teachers who are living in the apartment building. They did a welcoming dinner for Mary and I. Mary and I are both in Imshil. Last night, we went to a place for dakgalbi, and it's, I don't even know how to, it's cabbage and it's chicken and it's veggies and a sauce, and it's cooked right in front of you, and then they added cheese because Imshil is known for cheese. There is a cheese theme park, which is really exciting. I can't wait to check it out. The cheese theme park and the cat cafe are what Imshil is known for. But there seem to be some really good people within that group, and I'm excited to get to know people a little bit more. 2 of the teachers are leaving at the end of this month or the beginning of next month because they were late intake for last year, and so their contract is up in March, end of March, early April, and they're both moving to different cities. So we will get 2 new teachers in at that time, and hopefully I will feel adjusted enough to help them, just like Crystal and all the rest of the teachers have made me feel a little bit more at home in these past few days. Tomorrow morning, I finally get to meet my co-teacher, which will be really exciting. She's going to take me around to go and see all of my other schools and to meet some other staff members, the principal, vice principal, all of the important people, which will be really exciting because I spent the last several days just kind of hanging around my apartment, and I'm really excited to get out there and actually get started with this school year and lesson planning and all that good stuff. Thank you for watching. I cannot believe you have made it through this whole video. I can't believe I've made it through this whole video. These first 2 weeks in Korea have been jam-packed with new experiences, so I really wanted to include all of that. But thank you. I pride you on being able to make it all the way through. Thank you for dealing with my very poor editing skills. Who knows if this will be better? We'll see as time goes on. But again, thank you for watching and seeing a little bit more into my world. 감사합니다, and 안녕히 가세요.
Have to show me Whoopi. baby fan club. And lick your lips and smile.
Can't do it.